Hey everyone, how are you doing? We are in second day of earnings. I will say first day of the really heart of earnings season here, with these quarterly, mostly Q3s here. So let's talk about. I want to talk about Palantir because Palantir. I think we're seeing the gas pedal being pumped here. The market is just in this limbo stage right now, really trying to figure out what to do. Obviously, this is an intense week with a lot of situations going on. But I want to talk about Palantir. I want to talk about Rich Tech. Rich Tech I think Rich Tech is starting to spin again here. I want to talk about that. But Palantir, obviously, that's the golden goose. But we will talk about these two stocks, friends. I hope you're well. I really do mean that. It's Tuesday. What's Tuesday? Whenever you're listening to this. So after hours here, we had Netflix release quarterlies. They were good quarterlies, but analysts are saying Wall Street essentially is going like we were hoping they were going to be a little bit better. They were still massive. I mean, Netflix is a beast. I mean, this is crazy. GM released really good earnings today, which was like. Whoa, a lot of, just more. It was a split down the middle, but there were generally better than expected quarterlies today. And tomorrow we've got some other big quarterlies. Obviously, Tesla after hours tomorrow will be the big one, but right now Tesla's in this limbo stage, so I don't think anyone's going like, okay, we're expecting Tesla to come out with like massive quarterlies. That's kind of not. We know even Elon himself has said, Tesla's going to be in this little bit of this limbo stage right now because we're working on this next phase of the future of what Tesla is about to be here. So, I could go on and on about Tesla. Don't even get me started. But then you got IBM after hours tomorrow, massive earning report tomorrow. So the market is in this little bit of a limbo stage right now. It's Tuesday, early into the market. We've had 2 weeks of kind of crashing here. Into Friday, we've got the CIP report here, CPI report, excuse me, and then we've got that's at 8 a.m. and then we'll see what the Feds say. Will they talk about rate cuts, or what are they going to say here? Obviously, they're not getting job reports for September. October, more than likely not going to happen. Now we're hearing talks about the government may just be shut down after Thanksgiving. It looks like nothing's getting resolved here anytime soon. So right now the market is in it right now, and we're going through it here. So I want to talk about Palantir. Let's go right into Palantir here. If you know me, I've been drinking the juice on Palantir since 2-3 years. It's been 3 years now. This has been a long, crazy road we've had here with Palantir. Just in the last, let's say, 60 days alone, we have seen Palantir capture more partnerships, more deals. So this is why it's really hard to go against the grain right now with Palantir, in the sense of people saying, well, they're going to run out of money. They're going to run out of new money, essentially, is what people are saying. And there were moments to believe this conversation maybe in the past, but right now Palantir, a lot of these past government deals alone, they are compounding deals, meaning essentially they're going into years here. They last for 2, 3, 4 years. Some of them even this year we have seen extended. So right now, Palantir, coming off these more deals, essentially, even the one with Bowen we just saw, this is going to obviously, there'll be a lot of those, even at this time frame, probably will be bleeding into Q3 here. That will come out here, essentially in, just days, essentially, 12, 13 days, wherever you're watching this. With that, analysts are already projecting for Palantir to break into billion plus zone again. The question is, billion, okay, we've achieved $1 billion quarterly. Now is what's after the billion, point what? And that's really going to tell the tale of how aggressive we're about to see the next run in Palantir. And this is what Palantir does up to every quarterly. It, right before quarterly comes out, the stock runs up to pre-existing highs. So, more than likely next week when we see, not next week, but 2 weeks from now, November 3rd, when we see Palantir get to the day of the quarterly here, we could probably more than likely see it somewhere in this high 180, if not breaking into 190s. Okay, who knows? It could get even crazier than that. That's going to be a wild time in the market as well. And we should have already had a rate cut at that point too. So the market could be still in very high fumes at that point. That more than likely could be what we're looking at here. I don't think there's a lot of people that may disagree with that. If you've been here with Palantir, you're like, that's kind of just, that's the black and white picture of what we've been seeing. That's nothing new. This has been the repeat of what's been going on here. The question is, after these quarterlies, what is going to be the new run? What is going to be the new cycle of Palantir here? More than likely, I don't think 200 is that big of a deal with Palantir. Saying Palantir is going to $200 is really not that big of a deal. And this is the thing where, 200, 215, 220, could we see more than that? There's still another quarterly to round out the year, obviously, with Q4. The question is, we have people like Tom Lee, Dan Ives, Tom Lee saying the S&P 500, the lowest he thinks it will close at the end of the year here is 7,000 point range, but he thinks it's going to do more than that. And now you're seeing that conversation trickle out and filter itself out into a lot of, Wall Street. I was even watching like JP Morgan reps today talk, and they were like, actually, we are really bullish on the market still. We're seeing, and they're talking about what little quarterlies they've seen come out so far, that it's getting them, pumped up again. It's getting them hype. So I think a lot of people are just kind of sitting on the sidelines at this point going, okay, when's the next pop in the market? When's the next run? And I think a lot of this too is obviously depending on, more of these quarterlies being shown by companies, but two, what is Friday going to look like? What is this inflation report going to look like? So if it's neutral, it's not that big of a deal. The market may just go, okay, if it's bad, how bad is it going to be? Because the market knows there's a rate cut coming here too. So it's kind of like, it's the same thing we just went through here with the first rate cut. What do we do here? What do we say? But obviously, with that last rate cut, the market went berserk. It went bananas. Palantir here, that's the short moment here. That's the short burst of what potentially we're looking at here in the next 3 weeks with Palantir. Okay, wonderful, great. When we talk about the long-term aspect of Palantir, this is people where like Dan Ives are very much putting their neck out there and saying he believes that when we talk about this AI bubble, that we're just getting into, second, third gear here. And there's like, I think he says there's like 6, 7 gears here, but we're very much in the early stage of where a lot of these tech stocks are going. We're seeing a new generation of tech stocks rise up, take control of their market, and run with it. And with that, this is why we're seeing an endless amount of money, deals, all this stuff, push itself in and out of Palantir right now. And, Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, has talked about, this sales force that he's hinted at this a lot. So I definitely think this is a real scenario that we could see in 2026 where Palantir pushes more into looking for more deals, looking for more big partnerships. The partnerships that Palantir is getting at this point are very juicy. They are very recognized companies, and they're getting big deals. Not all these deals at this point are made public, because some of the companies they're starting to work with more are just kind of private companies. They're not putting that out there. Now, obviously, the defense deals, they're kind of, they're made public and we know what's going on. So Palantir here, I think a lot of us are just waiting for the next run. It's holding this high 170, low 180. We've definitely had it more aggressive than this at this point. And the market, like I said, the market's not giving a lot right now. We're not seeing a lot. Yesterday was a weird day. The market, a lot of, some trading apps were down. We're seeing a lot of, stuff like that. That was just a weird day. And then today, the market was kind of just, going through the motions of quarterlies being released. A lot of people are waiting for Netflix to see. That's a huge, money pushing company stock right there. Palantir into the future. I look at Palantir as this company that will be fundamentally pushed into more ETFs. It will be a staple of a company that a lot of people do not see company. It's I've talked about this so much where look at Nvidia like even 6-7 years ago. Let's say like 7 years ago, Nvidia was a pretty well-known company to investors. It wasn't really a household name, if you will. I would say there's a lot of people that know it, have heard the word Nvidia, the company Nvidia. I would say that because Nvidia has become the richest company in the world at this point. I mean, they're making insane money. With that conversation, this is a moment where Palantir could be in such a youthful young stage still that it's hard for us to really mentally understand where this can go. Okay, really trying to think outside the box and where the future lies here with Palantir. Like I said, 7 years ago with Nvidia, they were making 5, 9, $11 billion quarterlies. No one could have ever thought that this company, that Nvidia, was going to make 20, 30, 40, almost, now we're talking about $50 million quarterlies here. Billion dollar quarterlies. That's insane that we're talking about a company now that is, every quarterly, it's just like how much more is it going to go up? The demand is crazy for chips. So I'm not saying that Palantir is going to be the next Nvidia next year. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's similar roads, there's similar smells in the air when it comes to stocks having aromas. And, Palantir could definitely be in this, stocks go through a lot, companies and stocks, obviously it's kind of hard. I look at them different. Palantir, the company, amazing, wonderful, getting deals, crazy. Then you have the stock that has all of these different things attached to it. It has FOMO. It has aggressive buying into it. It has, the future price in it. It has the what if this gets more out of control price in it. And this is what is going into a lot of it right now. But two, Palantir is in such this very young moment, this very young life that it finds itself in right now. It just broke into $1 billion quarterly. Imagine 5 years from now, it'll be here before you know it. It will be here before you know it. I do think that there is a real moment here where, we can look into what's coming here with Palantir and go, okay, there's more than likely going to be a moment where Palantir, if we think 200 is expensive right now, what does 5 years from now look like with Palantir just even moving on the percentage of quarterlies that it has right now, or even cutting back just a little bit from that right now, maybe finding a place of just, structured quarterlies coming in where, they're just, maybe Palantir goes through this cycle. Once it hits like a $2 billion, $3 billion quarterly, it kind of stays in that for a moment. But the stock share keeps rising on Palantir, just continuing to do well with quarterlies, slowly rising. Maybe Palantir goes into this place of it just keeps getting more aggressive, and we find ourselves in a very high share price. And, 3, 5, maybe sooner than that, we are talking about a stock split. These are things that really advance people's portfolios before they know them. This is a real situation. This is why, even having like 10 shares of Palantir right now from 5 years from now, that could do serious things to a person's portfolio. You've beaten half the people in the market probably at that point. That's a very interesting place for people to hold that small position. And listen, 10 shares of Palantir right now, if you're buying right now, if you're freshly buying in, yeah, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. But there's people that have been here since the $7, $10, $15, $20, $100 stage. Maybe you bought in $150. We're about to go through just another cycle. If you look at the past history from even a whole year, this whole past year, it's pretty obvious the give and take flows of what we've seen with Palantir, with pre-quarterly to post-quarterly, before and after here. This is a a moment that is just probably going to, you know, continue into other moments here. So, friends, it's just sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze, and it just keeps giving here. And Palantir is still showing that it is still worth the squeeze here. I'm very interested by Q4, where will Palantir be? By January, when we get this last quarterly out here. And obviously, I'm really pushing up into the future here, but there's always special moments in the stock market. There's always things that are just too good to be true. There's other stocks that people have caught and rode and had amazing turnouts. Nvidia, for God's sakes. I mean, imagine people that were buying Nvidia, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Netflix, you know, there's a lot of stocks. I mean, you know, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto. I mean, even AMD, for God's sakes. You can really get somewhere if you start pushing into stocks at right opportunities. There's all kinds of different stages, but Palantir, I think this is still in very much a golden stage where people are going to do well off it 100%. So I'm very excited about Palantir. This is just another quarterly that we're going to go, oh my God. It's going to take the market by storm 100%. And what's fun about this moment, I'll say this and I'll shut up. What's fun about this moment with Palantir is we've got these next 2 weeks of heavy earnings, and then to clean up the last but not least here, Palantir is going to come out with its quarterly, and it's pretty much going to wrap up all of this earnings season, you know, for this Q3 moment. And we're gonna see what it is, and it's probably gonna end the show here, and just, you know, it's gonna be a massive fireworks show. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be something spectacular. Okay, so talking about Rich Tech here, Rich Tech is showing this sign of looking for new support. So when you look at this candlestick chart here, this is really interesting right now. All eyes on this right here. We have found pushback, and now we have found this moment of, okay, we have a new ground floor, it looks like. So this ground floor being this, you know, for anywhere from 520 to what we got to today, 580. A lot of wiggle room in there right now. But with that, this is a fantastic place right now. You know, 4 weeks ago at this point, barely. You know, this was a high with you know, Rich Tech Robotics here. This was a high. So now this being the new bottom, now this being like, oh man, this is wild. This is wild. So, you know, who knows if people are going to get this cheaper? I'm not so sure. Rich Tech is still in a very beautiful position right now. And two, at the end of the month here, they're going to be at this big conference, this big thing. And speaking of NVIDIA, you know, we're gonna hear more about that relationship, that partnership. So I would highly expect next week will be a very better moment for Rich Tech, and I think investors know that 100%. So, you know, even by Friday, I would be expecting that, you know, volatility will be very, very back and forth on Rich Tech here. But, you know, obviously, too, once this pushes back up into a $6 range, it's going to be quite obvious that we're slowly going to push up here. So what I'm looking at here with Rich Tech is short term, obviously, to talk about short term, because people get like, I see people get mad at me in the comments. They're like, why are you talking about short term, or why don't you talk about long term? Why, you know? So I'm trying to mention both where I'm at with them. But the short moment burst here of what we're seeing is that obviously, you know, next week we're talking about rate cuts, okay, and a lot more earnings. All right. But two, with that, you know, Rich Tech has a moment here these next 2 weeks to start building up what could be this next push. And obviously, if Rich Tech can hold this position where it's at right now, this high 5, getting back into this mid $6 range, you know, the next push on this undoubtedly is going to be this next staircase of $8, $9, $10. That is 100% true. This is why I've kind of been saying, like, I love Big Bear. Okay, I love Big Bear. I am in love with Big Bear, but Big Bear's got quarterlies coming up, and if Big Bear doesn't execute those quarterlies or come close, it's going to be lights out once again, and that roller coaster ride will start up again. So Rich Tech here it has no quarterlies until January. Everyone right now with Rich Tech, they know it's a get out of jail free card where they can kind of just, get in it, maybe they'll get stuck in a little bit. We know it's going to cycle right back up, okay? So that's the short time moment here. It's going to catch these energy boosts right now with the market. It's just what it's going to do. So, back, just weeks ago when we had that first initial, not even first, but that third big push going from $4, $5, $6, $7, okay? It's right there, right behind, what's going on right now. Now we've had this sell-off. We found ourselves at what was the new high, that moment there, the third push. Now we're going into what it looks like the fourth push here. And it couldn't come at a better time with what is going on with the market right now. So I would be shocked for Rich Tech not to get caught up in the wind tails of what we're about to go into here. That's short moment here. Long term, when we talk about 5 years from now, what does Rich Tech look like? I don't know. That's a very good question. Does Rich Tech push off into different cities? Does Rich Tech finally get into a position where quarterlies are where they need to be? Does Rich Tech really push and advance this deal with NVIDIA? Does Rich Tech find itself partnering with more companies? What do robotics look like over the next 5-year cycle in the market? I think it's going to be intense personally. Rich Tech, I will say this, is in the right place at the right time, if that makes sense. Obviously, and this is where people that are bearish on it go like, this is ridiculous because they haven't made profit. It's a little company. Obviously, okay? Obviously. But there's starting places all the time. Okay, there's always a starting place. Imagine if you were with Rich Tech for a while, and then maybe this time next year, they finally come out with a very aggressive quarterly. They capture the biggest deal they've ever captured. They move into a big city besides Las Vegas, where they're headquartered. Imagine you go through these moments with the company as an investor. Those are big moments, and there's going to be moments of price action involved with that too. So long term, I believe in robotics. It's going to stay and it's going to get here before it, whether people want it or not, it is coming. If Rich Tech doesn't do it, it's going to be someone else. Rich Tech is very, I would say, ahead of the game almost. There's a lot of startup robotic companies out there. And there's other robotic companies out there. Rich Tech is focusing on this very special avenue that I think is just going to be what it's going to be into the future. The next decade, I do think that people are going to go into restaurants. They're going to go into, McDonald's, and there's going to be a robot at the counter. There's going to be what Rich Tech has. I just think this is coming regardless. So, obviously, will Rich Tech find itself, in just the culture? Will this become a household name of a company? I don't know. It's still so in the genesis stage of where this could go. I'm hopeful. They're obviously getting the right attention from the right players in the game here. But Rich Tech, they have a focus right now. I mean, I said that yesterday when the CEO gave an interview here. I mean, it's very laser focused. They know what they're going after and what they're trying to do. I'm excited. I know it's going to be a bumpy ride. I don't expect Rich Tech to be, a millionaire maker stock here. That's the worst sentence ever, but I don't expect it to make me a millionaire overnight. I think this is going to be a stock that is going to be, it's going to be moments of euphoria and moments of wanting to pull your hair out because it is still not profitable. But the January quarterly that is coming up here, it could be pretty aggressive because of these past deals that it just received, weeks ago at this point. So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. The short next phase of what this could be, yeah, I think undoubtedly it's looking for another push here, and it couldn't come at a just more right moment with the market potentially looking for another push here too. Friends, I'm going to shut up. I wish all of you the best of luck. I really do mean that. And friends, I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.